Texas teachers under fire over what they said online.
They're afraid for their lives. They've had death threats. They've had their families threatened.
Now they're facing political pressure and fighting to keep their jobs.
Part of my mission is to really kind of expose these woke indoctrinators, to purge them from our classrooms.
Our team uncovers new details in this free speech fight that could come with career-ending consequences. High school and middle school students walking out to protest ICE. Now the governor warns districts to shut it down.
If kids are skipping class, going out protesting, those schools are not going to be paid for that day for those students who are skipping class.
The warning has some leaders pushing back.
Our students don't care about school funding formulas. That's not what they're invested in. What they are invested in is justice, and that's why they're speaking out.
The crackdown and what's at stake when students leave campus to raise their voices.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. Some Texas educators risk losing their ability to teach over comments they made on social media in the wake of conservative activist Charlie Kirk's assassination. Now, we obtained never-before-seen records that reveal the public pressure, backlash, and threats leveled against them. This week, we're looking closer at this free speech fight. Investigator Kelly Wiley reports attorneys representing those educators say they are willing to go to trial over any attempt to suspend their certifications.
In the days following the shooting death of conservative activist and Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk, messages of condolence were heard alongside calls like these.
Look, we need you to show up to the board meeting and demand should be terminated.
Politicians, Texas Governor Greg Abbott,
celebrating an assassination is wrong.
And community members.
There needs to be a do not hire list.
Reacting to social media posts like these, made by Texas public school teachers and employees on their private social media pages. Among them, written posts saying, "I feel sorry he didn't die sooner. Karma is a B, and violence is not the answer, but CK was a champion of it." Records we obtained from dozens of Texas school districts show within 24 hours, school leaders began receiving complaints.
How quickly did you have teachers reaching out to you following Charlie Kirk's assassination?
Next day.
Education attorney Tiger Hanner represents several teachers.
Organizations and individuals started scouring social media and reporting it to their school district employers, reporting it to TEA, reporting it to law enforcement, whatever it may be, seeking to have them punished. You quickly saw a lot of educators' names showing up in local newspapers.
Texas State Rep Briscoe Cain, who's running for U.S. Congress, was one of the lawmakers calling out educators by name in posts on X and Facebook.
They need to be called out. They need to be exposed. Part of my mission is to really kind of expose these woke indoctrinators, to purge them from our classrooms.
Do you worry that publicly admonishing them, calling them out by name could bring harm to them?
They can try and play that victim goal, but the goal of publicly shaming them is to make sure that they leave the system and anybody like them thinks twice before taking actions like that.
You know, I'm sure if you reached out to educators for your story, there's not going to be many that want to talk to you because they're afraid that their name will be out in the public.
We did reach out to more than a dozen educators that public records requests revealed were reprimanded or terminated over their comments on Kirk. Few agreed to speak with us, and only if we concealed their identities. One educator who says she was doxxed or had her private, personally identifiable information exposed online after commenting on a post shared these messages she received, including one that said, "You're an amazing science experiment that needs to be exterminated." Another person who did not post but shares the same name as an educator terminated over social media messages said she received a text saying, "It's my job to hunt down evil people."
They're afraid for their lives. They've had death threats. They've had their families threatened.
2 days after Kirk's death, the Texas Education Agency did something that National Teachers Union, American Federation of Teachers, said only one other state education agency put into action. Education Commissioner Mike Morath sent a letter to district leaders instructing them to report educators who made inappropriate comments about Kirk to the state for misconduct. The TEA declined our multiple requests for an interview. In a statement, Morath said there's a difference between comments made in poor taste and those that call for and incite further violence, the latter of which is clearly unacceptable. I will be recommending to the State Board for Educator Certification that such individuals have their certification suspended and be rendered ineligible to teach in a Texas public school.
Show me one comment that incited violence. I've not seen one. I work with lawyers like myself all over the state that are working on these cases. Not one. So what is his definition of inciting violence?
Following Morath's letter, the agency said it received more than 350 complaints in September, directly after Kirk's death. The TEA has declined releasing records showing the complaints leveled against educators, only a list of the school districts where they worked. Almost 4 months into the agency's review, it had closed out 70% of the complaints, but 95 remained open and under investigation.
The law does not permit TEA to do that. They did it anyway.
Chris Tritico is another attorney representing multiple educators at risk of losing their certification.
Our government went out of its way to ensure that they were silenced. And not only silenced, but their jobs were threatened. And now their careers are threatened with the loss of their teaching licenses.
In a federal lawsuit against TEA, the Texas AFT claimed the state's investigation into educators is unlawful and accused the agency of retaliation. The TEA tells us it does not comment on pending litigation. Records we obtained show some Texas school districts were also concerned about the legal framework for reporting educators over their social media posts made outside the classroom. In a letter, Cypress Fairbanks ISD legal counsel told TEA it reviewed 6 complaints in light of the First Amendment parameters for Texas public schools and a Supreme Court balancing test, and found each employee was speaking as a private citizen on a matter of public concern, and their post did not result in incitement of violence or disruption to the workplace. But the letter went on to say the district would report the teachers to the state anyway, because of Morath's letter indicating superintendents should report situations that appear to fall outside of the requirements in the Texas Education Code.
And essentially, the fear is among superintendents that if they don't report it, they could be facing a fight for their certification for failure to report. Based upon my discussions with all the lawyers that do what I do, we're not going to accept any sanctions from TEA over any of these cases, not one of them. If TEA wants to try them all, we'll try them all.
I'm not concerned with what the TEA is doing with their investigation. I think public pressure and public exposures is enough in it, and I believe that it worked.
What would you say to those, especially educators, who might be concerned that they're being attacked for their beliefs?
Mm-hmm. I'm not concerned with their personal beliefs. I'm concerned with what's going on in the classroom. I'm concerned about the safety and the health of the next generation.
Right, but the social media comments weren't made in the classroom.
It goes to their value system, and if you have this value system, I don't want you educating our children.
Attorneys we spoke with said some school districts have bought employees out of their contracts to keep them from returning to the classroom. Records show some have faced threats of termination, some reprimanded, and some are still on paid leave. If TEA decides to move forward with suspending or rescinding teachers' licenses, it will have to go before the State Office of Administrative Hearings, where there would be a trial, Josh.
So you've faced some resistance from some school districts over releasing these records. Some of those requests went all the way to the Attorney General, I understand. So what have you heard from that office?
So really, in recent weeks, we started to hear one by one from the AG's office. So far, we've heard back on 3 of the opinions that districts sent out trying to withhold those records. And in all 3 of those cases, the AG has said to go ahead and release them to us. And so we're waiting to see what that will look like.
Well, this week, the TEA announced a new Inspector General for Education Misconduct. Does that have any bearing on these cases?
Absolutely. It would be his department that is conducting these investigations. And really, this department that he's now in charge of has a big job in the coming years. We've seen Senate Bill 571 expand the cases that they would be looking at. It's going to increase their workload. And also, there's a lot of calls for investigations that are happening. There's a lot being put on TEA's investigation department to look into so far. So they'll be involved in a lot of cases.
All right, Kelly Wiley, thank you very much. Online now, you can explore our interactive map of where the TEA is investigating educators accused of making inappropriate comments about Kirk. You'll recall Kirk co-founded the conservative student movement Turning Point USA. Since Kirk's death, Governor Abbott has pushed to start more Turning Point USA Club America programs in Texas high schools. The governor previously said any attempts to, quote, stand in the way of Club America programs would also be reported to the TEA, which will investigate and take disciplinary action, quote, if necessary. Students say they had to take a stand.
We just wanted to step up and share our opinion on it and tell people in our community that what they're doing is wrong.
State leaders push back, telling schools to shut down the walkouts.
And that free speech of students does not include leaving the school to go protest.
We look closer at the pressure of penalties over protests at Texas schools. Texas families can now apply for money to help pay for private schools. It's supposed to empower students, but some parents are raising concerns.